There we are. Hello, good morning, Shiva. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good too. Happy to be here. Thank you very much for your time for this interview or getting to know each other better. Like interview is a very formal
I know.
word.
I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't fit. Yeah, I'm not even wearing a jacket, so although I was thinking about it. Yeah. Where are you? Where are you now?
I am in Madrid, Spain.
Okay, and
Where?
why?
That's a good question. I'm still trying to figure that out. I've so the question is why, right? Why am I
Yeah,
here?
why are you in Madrid?
I came 12, almost 13 years ago now. I came, to be honest, I came because I was running away from the United States and I was running away from President Bush. And so you can imagine after Trump was elected, I decided to stay away.
I was going to ask, like,
Yeah.
okay.
No, so, but I mean, and I know you're Spanish, so I apologize for this. I'm not in Spain for any love of the country necessarily, although I completely appreciate the lifestyle, the more collectivist mentality, and I do like my life here. So I'm here because it's a great place to live. It's a good place to have my base. My partner is here, and I don't think my time in Spain is finished yet.
Okay. That's interesting because I think that has to do a lot with our generation that we are not like working for the same company and living in the same place like forever, like our grandparents do. So did, sorry, or do actually. And yeah, I see a shift, and I see a shift too because you say that I'm from Spain, actually I'm from Madrid, which was interesting that to find out that you were in Madrid too. But I can use now something from the diversity, and it's that after living more than 20 years in Germany, I'm starting not to identify as a Spanish anymore. It's like
Ooh,
people are
yes,
identifying
yes.
themselves now like more women or more men, and for me it helps me to not identify that much as a Spanish because I've lost like the link and more after I haven't been there for more than 1.5 years after the pandemic. So yeah.
Yep.
Have you been in the States the last 1.5 year, or when was the last time that you were there?
I don't remember, to be
Mm.
honest. I think, yeah, obviously before the pandemic, but I don't even remember if it was the summer before or the winter before. It's weird, like the 1 year of COVID and of staying inside has completely messed up my memory. I don't know what happened when, and I it's very fuzzy to even think of what things were like before. I think the last time I was there was 2 years ago, and it's a similar feeling to you. I think a few years ago, I got to that point, and you've experienced this as well, that middle point where you've lived half of your life in one country and then half of your life now, either in other countries or another place. And you have that moment of, what am I then? Like when people ask me where I'm from, I don't know what to say anymore. And what do I want to say? Where do I feel like I'm from? And so I say my passport country is the United States, but that's about it at this point. I don't really feel American. Although I do say when I go home, there's that relief of like, oh, I know this. Like I don't have to struggle to explain myself or
Mhm.
like to be understood. I get the hidden codes. So there is definitely like a kind of comfort when I go back there, but it's not really home.
Okay, so talking about it, I would like to ask you if it's okay about your cultural background
Of
in
course.
countries, experience, past, whatever you want to share with us.
Ooh, sorry, would you mind saying that again? Because for me, it
Yeah.
kind of froze.
Sorry. Sure. So we are now getting deeper a bit, and I would like to find out a little bit more about your cultural background. So where do you come from? Who are you? And how do you get to be you now living in Madrid?
That's a long ass story, but I'll try to make it short as possible.
We have time.
Um, yeah. So I was born in Iran. I am both Muslim and Jewish, and we moved to Italy as refugees when I was about 4 years old. And then we moved to the United States, and that's where we settled. We weren't supposed to go to the United States. We were actually supposed to go to Canada, which
Uh-huh.
is when I think of that also, since from a young age I knew that we were supposed to go to Canada, but we ended up in the United States. So at that point, I already started to understand that our nationalities could be it's just by coincidence sometimes. It's actually all purely chance. It's just where you're born or where you end up, and a lot of times you don't have choice in that. So we ended up in the United States in New York City, and that's where I was raised, Queens, New York. Very proud of that. And then my first week of university was September 11th, 2001. So I went to bed at that point identifying culturally as a New Yorker, right? And then I woke up the next day being identified by others as an Iranian Muslim potential terrorist. So identity shift from day to night. So that's another aspect of like sometimes what you identify yourself as is not how other people identify you, and the impact that other people's labels have on you.
Yeah.
So I actually started to identify more with my Iranian and Muslim side at that point. It was almost like my own resistance, like, you fuckers, you're gonna turn my identity against me. Well, I'm gonna dive deeper into that identity. And that's kind of stayed with me until now. But after university, and my university was in Western Massachusetts, I moved to the UK to finish my university because I kind of just got tired of the United States, and I got tired of being an Iranian Muslim potential terrorist. And when I moved to the UK, there was this sigh of relief. It was like I could breathe. No one cared where I was from. And when they asked and I said I was from the United States, they were fine, no questions. When I said I'm Iranian, still no questions. Like, nobody pushed that, you know? There was just curiosity.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in my life, actually, that someone stopped me and said, hold on, you're a refugee? That's an incredible thing to have experienced. Never in the United States did anyone point that out. It was like something you don't talk about, you don't get into. Whereas in the UK, at least the group of people that I had found, they explored it more. And this is also when I realized, because my group was international, but very Eurocentric. And that's when I realized, I think I want to stay in Europe. I know every country is different, but as a whole, there's a lot of similarities in terms of how you see life and how you see the value of a human being that is very different than the United States. So I decided I wanted to stay, and I kind of bounced around a bit. I came to Spain, I went to Ireland, I went back to Spain, to the United States, back to Ireland, back to the United States. And then 13 years ago, I quit my job and I came to Spain, and I've been here since then. So, I mean, going back to that question of like my cultural journey, my ethnicity, it's a mixed bag. Yeah. I never really know how to answer that question of where are you from. There's actually a really good TED talk called Don't Ask Me Where I'm From, Ask Me Where I'm Local. And it's about this idea of when you've got so many identities, you can't pick and choose. You can't just answer so easily. Right now, I'm Spanish. I'm local in Madrid, right? That's where I'm local. That's where I feel connected to. But I have all of these other cultural identities in me as well.
Thank you very much. I love that answer. And I think that right now that's going to be, or it's starting to be a big topic due to two reasons, I think. First, we live and we have experienced this globalized world. So why do I have to be defined by a country I was born into that I didn't choose? Yeah. And not by the country I choose to live or to be. Yeah. Or country or countries. So like we have different needs in different times of our lives, and we adjust, like moving to different countries or different places, or changing jobs or mixing countries. Yeah, like
Yes.
so that's one thing. And the other thing is something I found out yesterday that I was talking about, but I was not aware that it existed already. That many people, because I have two children, and many people tells me, oh, but your children are bicultural because they're Spanish and German. And I say, yes, no, because they have one part of Germany and one part of Spain, but not 100% of those. So they are a mixture of both of them. So they have their own culture, like every single of us. Yeah. And that is called, I think, third culture or something like that. So I'm
third culture kid.
Yeah,
third culture kid.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So it does exist, actually. It has a word. I'm happy because, like, I have feelings or I notice things, and then somebody have thought about it before, and that it is a word for there. So that makes to talk about it much easier, I think.
That is such a good point. And that's such a valid thing. Well, valid. I mean, it's such an important thing to realize as well that we don't, up until now, I think we haven't really had that much vocabulary for exactly like you said, what's coming up for us emotionally. Or maybe the vocabulary existed, but we just didn't know to look for it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how once you have the definition and you see people have done research and you look at the research, you're like, oh my God, this makes sense. Like this finally, now that I can talk about it, I can release the pressure about it. I can talk to my kids about it. We can all understand our experience better and ourselves and understand the frustrations and the tensions and where they come from and parts of you. Because I'm also a third culture kid as well. And I remember thinking, I'm nuts. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I settle in one place? Why can't I ever be happy? Why do I always need to be chasing another adventure? And then when I read the research on third culture kids, I was like, oh, that's normal. Okay, got it. I'm not a freak. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is just a result of having different cultures. But like you said, we all have different cultures anyway. I mean, when our parents come together and get married and create a child, that's literally a third culture anyway.
Yeah, it's maybe. So I've heard sometime that the second half of the life, it's for healing, and I see that totally because maybe it's to start to hear the words that we were looking for. So the first time was more like feeling or trying to find the problem and solutions, and now we have the words, and then we make peace with being who we are and how we came here. Yeah, like choosing, taking, extraordinary decisions. What I like is that we are talking about words, and there is one word about your work that fascinates me, and it makes me uncomfortable, and I love it at the same time. Could you like to tell us more about it, please? And feel free to use the
Sorry,
word.
again,
Again?
feel free to use the word. It broke up a little bit. So do you mind repeating the question?
Yes, sure. So we are now talking about words, and there is one word in your work that makes many people uncomfortable, and I'm included in that group. So could you like to share about it? How did you came to use this word? And use it, please.
I love it. Thank you. Yes, the full thing is the mind fuck. All right. Um, and yeah, that the word fuck really bothers people. It freaks them out. It's amazing how many times, by the way, I get private messages from people telling me, just so you know, this word might offend some folks, which is fine. But I also laugh and I think, do you really think I didn't know that?
Yeah.
Like, did you really?
Yeah.
Considering it's been part of my brand for years now, why would you think I didn't know that? Anyway, but it does freak people out. That's part of the reason why I use it, to be perfectly honest. But the origin of it came from a workshop that I was doing this was years ago that I started it. It was on cultural intelligence, and I had taken about 20 hours of cultural intelligence teaching and boiled it down to a 2-hour, super impactful, interactive session. And I used to just call it a crash course to cultural intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. It's 2 hours. It really is a crash course. It's not such a deep dive. Mm-hmm. But because it was intense, I imagine, and because it was taking complex ideas and boiling it down to really simple language, I remember the reaction from the audience was always like this stunned silence of like, whoa, I had never thought of that in that way. And you also notice and they would tell you, holy shit, now I see everything in my past in a very different way. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses and seeing this entire reality that I didn't even know existed. And the name actually came from the audience because they kept on referring to that experience as it's a complete mindfuck. It messes with your head. It makes you start questioning everything in a good way and looking at yourself differently, looking at your partner, looking at your colleagues in a different way. And so it's like a little earthquake in your head. So the name of it came from the audience. I had heard that a lot of times throughout the different deliveries that I did for the program. And then I said, you know what, if that's how people feel after, then let's name it that. And the whole course itself is about shaking you up a bit, pushing your buttons a little bit. And that idea of shaking your head so that the pieces fall in a different place so you can start seeing things differently. And I knew that the name itself would kind of shake people up a little bit. So I thought that was a good reflection. And it's also about helping you see your judgments and your biases. And people have a lot of judgments around people who curse, and I want them to face that. I want them to feel that.
Love it. It's I love it. It's yeah, mind fucking. I'm saying it.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
And also think of this. Why have we decided that cursing is bad? Right? Who decided that? And why have we decided to all accept that? I mean, there's all this evidence that shows that people who curse are also more calm and relaxed because it's a release, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And what I found really interesting is sometimes people are comfortable cursing in their own language, but when they hear it in English, it's like, oh, and I find that very interesting because again, it means why have we decided that what is offensive in English needs to be offensive internationally? Why have we decided that that's how it needs to be?
That's very interesting.
So that's also one of the things I try in my head is the intention.
I love it because actually, like, so I curse a lot when I speak Spanish. I don't know if there is it possible even to speak, you speak Spanish, so is it possible to speak Spanish without cursing, or what happens when you speak Spanish without it? Yeah. Like, tell me please that they teach in the Spanish schools to speak like real Spanish. Like at least one every fourth word must be something.
I know. Or just like, even if it, I mean, the translation are hysterical. It's like, especially the ones where it's religious based. You can do all sorts of things to God in Spanish,
Yeah.
but the second I say fuck,
yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, but it's indeed, but like, for example, in Germany, it's like more unusual probably to use some words, yeah, which is interesting when we talk about back to the third generation children, because mine start using hard words in German that you would never even use in Spanish. So I'm like, and German people are looking at me and they say, that's a Spanish thing. And the Spanish people looking at me and they say, that's a German thing, yeah. So at least I have the excuse. But
I love that.
Yeah, somehow I will have to hide from it, or I don't know. I love it, and what I love, because I had the short experience to learn and question my bias, all of them. Well, I'm in the journey of questioning all of them, and I want, of course, more. But for you, what could be the person or the people, doesn't matter, who are ready for it? Like, do you think like everybody's ready, or who is ready, who should do it, who shouldn't do it, who would you like to have in a course, in a training, in a
That's
audience?
a great question. I mean, I think everyone needs this kind of work in general. This is part of me, that big, the work, right? The work of developing ourselves, of becoming better people, of leaving a better legacy. I mean, all of this happens when you start to understand yourself and your biases more. But I have always consciously wanted to target people who have formal leadership power or informal leadership power, in the sense that they are good at influencing, that people respect them and listen to them, because those are the people who really need to be the references. Mm-hmm. So for me, this is perfect for anyone who is a leader in any way. That could be a thought leader, that could be a formal leader, and who wants to do better and leave a better legacy, and at the same time get the perks of working more efficiently, saving time, reducing your frustration, not taking things as personally, which is all of the amazing skills that we need to lead and not manage. Uh-huh. So for me, that's always been consciously the kind of folks that I gravitate to, because I know in today's world and how we work, a lot of people are going to be influenced by that person who is in that leadership position. So let's do what we can to leave a better legacy and to help pass on something better and healthier.
Thank you. I have now a question just raised in my head about it. And it's we are talking about leaders in a professional way, but actually think that this shift that occurs internally and personally, and then it's shown or influences our work. So they are personal leaders, like.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to think about family heads, but somehow it doesn't feel right. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. But like personally, like we all lead our lives, so that helps our lives, right? Too. So actually, we need it. Right?
Yes, to be perfectly honest, and this has always been a difficult thing for me to sell personally. To be perfectly honest, I completely agree with you that we are the leaders of our own lives. And this whole, the mindfuck and the I word, all of these programs I do are ultimately about leading the self, right? And it starts with that self-awareness. So in that sense, it is 100% for everyone. You can't lead others unless and until you lead yourself. And that also means being a reference for others. That means if you're a big brother or sister, that means your friend group, that means any community that you're part of. We are references without realizing that we are references. And that scares the shit out of a lot of people, by the way. Like a lot of people don't want to think of themselves as having that personal power, because then they need to start thinking about how, you know, the impact that they're having, and maybe realize that they haven't been having the impact that they wanted because they've never intentionally thought about it. So it's a scary thing, but it is absolutely for everyone. And it connects to something that I think a mutual friend of ours, Brian, Brian George, says all the time, which is, I know, right?
Brian, we love you.
I know we do. And Brian always talks about this thing that I love, which is hurt people, and heal people, heal people. And that's where I want to get to. I want to get to the healed people, heal people, because we're all hurt in some way or another, even if we don't want to face it or accept it. Hurt does not mean damage, by the way, and it does not mean broken. I want to be very clear about that, because we tend to think that damage. Right? Exactly. We're just hurt. We have wounds. We all do. And we bring it into everything that we do. And we also think there's this disconnect between our, you know, personal self and our professional self, that we can show up differently at work than how we show up at home, and that what happens at home in our personal lives doesn't impact our professional lives. That's absolute bullshit. It's all connected. You're not going to have, there's no balance, by the way. It's just a fusion. So it's trying to find a way to make that work. So the very long answer to that question is yes, it's, I go straight for to those who have more formal leadership, only because unfortunately our society thinks of them as that's someone to follow. But ultimately it is about everyone and being a leader in their own life.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's an invitation for all the people who will listen to this interview to come to take the course of the Summer Academy for Diversity and Innovation, because Shiva will be one of our speakers. I'm looking very much forward to this course. I will put the link to the enrollment under the comments. And the last question about the interview, that of course should have been shorter, but I don't care anymore about time because it's a social construct and fuck off.
Yes.
So we are talking about feelings, and I'm coming back to Brian, yes, because we feel that. So which is the most important sense when in your trainings, workshops, whatever? Is it the sight? Is what we hear? Is what how does it smells?
That is a beautiful question. Keep going.
So as far as I know from the school, there are 5, but I see many more of them. Like, could you imagine giving a presentation without slides, without showing the pictures? Because that's your grade 8, yeah? And what then the people say, so we need the hearing. And I think that memories are usually, in my case, a lot with smell, maybe because I'm food obsessed. Yeah, how do you think that? Tell me something about it. Free question.
Oh my Lord. Okay. No one's ever asked me that one. So which senses are the most involved? Well, and also this is really good food for thought for me as well, and something I need to start doing more, which is making my trainings accessible. So it is, if it's online, which this one will be online, there is a lot of sight. It can be done without the images, though, to be perfectly honest, because usually the images are just a way to distract you and influence you without you realizing. But
thank you for.
So it is visual. It's also absolutely. It's also tactile in that there's a lot of chat. I do ask people to participate in chat. And it will be audio as well, because there's auditory. Hopefully there'll be a lot of robust conversation as well. But smell, it never occurred to me how I might involve that into a training, especially online. I also don't know if that's actually answered your question because it threw me off in such a great way.
That's great. That's I was yesterday hard looking for a question that it was special. I have a very long list, but I think it's too
Let's
long for the
do.
interview. But we can do a series of interview. We can do episodes, talking
I
to
love
Shiva,
it.
discovering Shiva, unveiling
Oh no,
Shiva.
that is so awkward. I have a huge ego, but it still feels really awkward when it's like just Shiva.
Yeah, which is good.
Happy
Yeah.
to do two-way.
Yeah, sure. I know you as Shiva the Diva. I don't know
I
why.
know, yes, because that was you. That used to be my Instagram handle, Shiva the Diva.
Okay, yeah, that's it belongs to our history, right? It's our way, yeah. So at some points we take decisions that affects our future, yeah, and it's afterwards like, yeah, I understand this sentence. So I was young and needed the money, yeah, or nowadays is I was young and I needed the followers, so or the likes, or
Oh my God, that's so true.
yeah. So I don't have any more questions on my no list because I don't have a list actually. It was a pleasure to talk to you, to know more about you. I'm really looking forward this course training masterclass. I don't know how to call it. It's online. Is there something else you would like to add?
Um, that's a good question. I think specifically about the masterclass course, I'm not really sure what to call it myself, is that it is an incredibly powerful process. It's a two day. I mean, it's a 2 hour session, 3 hour sessions, I think. Um, but it is a deep dive. It's almost like a shortcut into understanding yourself in a way that you had probably been struggling to understand in years. So it's possibly one of the most powerful tools that I've come across myself in the work. And it is ultimately about understanding yourself so that you can accept yourself. And it ties back into that idea of this is how you start to heal.
Love it. It's actually, I think, perfect for end of the pandemic time of people healing of a lot of
Yes.
trauma, pressure, emotion, roller coaster. So, and it's a refreshing way of starting the summer and getting ready for the next season of work, of productivity, and of being better people in this world, right? And having more fun
Exactly.
in it.
Oh my God. Yes.
Having
Having
more
more fun.
fucking fun.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yes. I got you to curse twice. Twice.
So thank you very much, Shiva, and see you soon.
Thank you so much and see you soon.
Stop.